Joining us for more on this is Swati Maliwal. She is the chairperson for DCW. Thank you for joining us. Let me first straight take the question to you. One of the chilling details, and perhaps also another indication of how our communications, social communications and etiquettes have completely broken down. Priyanshi, a reporter on the ground, is confirming how people never saw Shraddha inside that house for 3 days. They had no clue that there was somebody like Shraddha living inside that house. A shroud of secrecy. How do you respond to this?
I think the entire case is very shocking, and all these aspects that are coming up is making it even more complicated and shocking. It's very difficult for me to believe that nobody saw this girl, nobody reported this matter to the Delhi police for the past 6 months. A girl disappears in thin air in the capital of the country, and yet no action has been taken. 6 months, this man was able to chop off her body parts, store them in a fridge, and on a daily basis at 2 a.m. go out, go to the jungle and dispose of one particular body part, and yet nobody noticed. So it's very, very shocking. And the Delhi Commission for Women, we issued a notice to the Delhi police because we wish to understand as to under what circumstances did this happen. Nobody ever reported the matter to them, and whether any complaint was registered by Shraddha before the Delhi police, before her death, as to what was the behavior of this man with her. Was a domestic violence complaint registered? Was a complaint of sexual abuse registered? And if it was registered, what was Delhi police's action on it? Because now finally after 6 months, when the Mumbai police approached the Delhi police, has this case been unearthed? And I really fail to understand how does it happen that in the mid of the entire country's capital, a girl just disappears and no action is taken for 6 months.
Right. Swati, you know, one of the facts that are emerging from this case is about how Shraddha's friends have repeatedly now spoken to the media, even to NDTV, and has said that Swati had spoken about violence. She was spoken about how she was being violated, how she was being beaten up. If these were the comments that were emerging repeatedly from her to her friends, and her friends, even one of her friends, according to the records, has even said, let's go to the police. But there was no official complaint lodged, not a one-off case.
I think it is very, very sad, and we are waiting for the reply of the Delhi police. We can't be so sure right now that there was no official complaint filed by Shraddha. We have to wait for the report of the Delhi police. Maybe she made a 100-number call. Maybe she gave a complaint in writing to one of the authorities. So I think all that needs to be investigated. But what remains is the fact that this person, what kind of a mentality does he have? I've been hearing from the media how he was bringing in girls from other dating sites, and how they were frequenting his house while the dead body of his ex-girlfriend was right there in one of the fridge. And I also read somewhere that he was also storing his food there, and he's some fan of some serial killing show. So what kind of a mentality does he have? What is his thought process? And strongest action needs to be taken. I've been told that Delhi police has recovered some around 12 body parts. I think the entire chain of events and the investigation has to be made extremely solid. Otherwise, I'm really scared that just like in Chawla case, despite there being evidence, because it wasn't done properly in the investigation, those convicts were let off by the Supreme Court. Here, the investigation has to be even more solid, because maybe a lot of the evidence has already been destroyed. So I appeal to the Delhi police to make sure that they have a very solid investigation so that this man is given the strictest punishment.
You're raising an important point. In fact, ironically, the police are still looking for the weapon that was used to commit this crime. That is, of course, a very crucial link in this entire case. So the weapon has not been found. There have been around 10 body parts which have been recovered. As shocking as that may sound, in total, we're talking about 35 body parts across the national capital region. So if you're talking about crimes such as this, and you have written to the police, are you concerned about where the investigation stands currently?
I'm really concerned, especially since the Chawla judgment has come out. You see, Delhi police is in a habit of delaying sending samples, forensic samples from the Malkhana to the forensic laboratory, and of all those other issues that the Chawla judgment has raised. And I'm very scared that the investigation has to be extremely proper, and various teams have to be deployed, and very stringent form of investigation should be there. Otherwise, this person might be able to walk free. One can't even imagine that. And you see, for the past 6 months, he was living amongst everyone else like a so-called normal person. He was bringing in dates to his house.
Right.
Most of them probably had no idea what a horror story were they walking into.
Yeah. And there's an important point that you're coming to, and I have to ask this question as well. We are talking about a day and age where online dating or live-in relationships are extremely normal. This is, of course, a very horrifying case. But what would you, as a DCW chairperson, what would you tell to young women and even young men for that matter, who are on online dating sites or are in live-in relationships? One, because they are struggling with something which is like a shroud of secrecy and shame in some sections of the society, at sometimes their own families. So what would you tell them? Because this really cannot be seen as a one-off case, at least in terms of the levels of crime that are being unraveled on this every day.
So I would just like to appeal to all those people who are in live-in relationships or in any kind of a relationship. One doesn't have to tolerate toxic behavior. If you are being abused in any manner, that should be a red flag. Immediately you have to take a step. You have to share with your friends, you have to share with your family, and you have to approach an authority like the Delhi Commission for Women or the Delhi Police. Because until you might just keep thinking that, you know, okay, I'll do it tomorrow, or maybe he'll improve, or maybe things will get better, and maybe the man just turns like this particular person. So I think it is very important, whoever is in a relationship, whether it is a man or a woman, any kind of a toxic behavior should not be tolerated, and adequate steps should be taken in order to make sure that you actually walk out of it before it is too late.